Hey Molly, my name's James Masella from Movie Death Blows. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with me today.
Of course.
Just
Happy
want to
to
let
do
you,
it.
I just want to let you know I talked to your director last week and your co-stars, and they couldn't be any more complimentary of you. They said they had a great time working with you. I just wanted you to know that from someone on the outside.
Oh, well, good. I mean,
No
thank
horror
you, thank you.
stories. So I gotta ask, I told Gordon last week I'm doing this interview from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is only like 20 minutes from where
Oh
you guys filmed on
darn.
the farm in Chester.
Yeah.
So, what was your experience like filming Wild-Eyed and Wicked? Like Wild-Eyed and Wicked, it's such a tongue twister to say. I learned that from the last time doing the interview. What was your experience like working on the movie up here in the suburbs of Philadelphia?
I loved it. It's beautiful up there. I was afraid of ticks the whole time, but aside from that, I loved it. Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was so cool to be out on the farm. Um, it it was cool. I love indie film. I love working in the space that you're really like the the place and the farm and the forest has such a it has such a like spirit of its own kind of and uh yeah, it was awesome.
I asked Gordon what the casting process was like for you from his point of view. So, what was the casting process like for you? Like, did you know about Gordon or any of the stuff he had done before coming on for Wild-Eyed and Wicked?
I had known a little bit. I had We have mutual friends. So um I had I had known a little bit, but I didn't know Gordon. I didn't know like that much about his previous work. I just read the script and I was floored. Um, and I had never done horror before. This is my first horror movie, and it it just moved me so much. His script that I was like, I have to try to be a part of this, and um, taped my audition, and I was just so stoked, really.
Just to piggyback off, are you a fan of horror movies? Like, what's your favorite horror movie, or like your favorite like genre of horror movie that you like? Slasher? Is it like more meta related?
I I like the kind of well, I would say my favorite horror movies are like Psycho because I saw it in like my high school film class and it freaked me out more the further I got away from the viewing. And I thought that's cool. Like the as I watched it, because you know about the gimmicks, they're stabbing the watermelon and that's the sound effect for, because I didn't want to freak myself out. Um so as I'm watching it, you're like, okay, okay, this isn't too scary. I can kind of handle this. And then the twist at the end. And afterwards, I found myself like a week later, a month later, still thinking about it and still being like, wow, that's messed up. That's so scary. And that to me is like, that's cool. That's powerful. Recently, Get Out. Um, but not that that's an original answer, but
Me and
fantastic.
Gordon and I were talking about Jordan Peele and like Mike Flanagan because like a lot of this reminded me of like The Haunting of Hill House and stuff like that, just with like stuff in the background that you're not used to, and it pops out and the eyes open here and there. That was like, oh Jesus, freaked me out for a second there too.
Yeah. The jump scares, the first time I saw the film, the jump scares got me. And I was like, that's embarrassing. I
did,
was there.
do they get you while filming it, or it's only when watching it?
Only watching it. Yeah, filming it was not scary at all, which is great. I'm a little bit of a baby with horror movies, to be honest. Like um, I'm a little more of the hide under the covers and
I
peek
won't
up at it.
I won't tell anybody except
Thank
for when
you.
they see this. But
Yeah, that's why I'm only telling you in secret here.
one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Michael Summers, who plays your father Gregory, is teaching you how to actually sword fight. Because your character Lily is a fencer, but she doesn't really know how to hurt and kill things with a sword. And he's like, "You've got to attack it. You've got to mean it when you hit it." So, did you have any sword training coming into it? And like, what was that process like for you, learning how to like swing a 15th or 16th century broadsword at that point?
I had broadsword training before we started production, or before we started filming. Yeah, I had some training in LA. I had fencing lessons, and then I also had the broadsword training. to get some of those moves. And um, that was incredible and so cool that I got to, who gets to do that, you
How
know?
how heavy are those swords? Like pound wise, what do you think?
Um, oh man, I mean, the armor was 40 pounds. The chainmail itself is like 15. Getting into it is a whole process. It takes four people. Um, the the sword might have been, oh, I'm awful at estimates, maybe 8 pounds
That's all right. I thought it'd be
ish.
like 15 or something like that. I could swing it, is what you're saying
Oh yeah, yeah. You could.
then.
I mean, I'm 5'4". I can swing it, but
Gotcha.
but I was. It was very physically demanding, and that was that was cool too, though. Like I was so excited to really be thrown into it.
You know, when I was reading the press notes, I think the one of the most interesting thing is you're talking about the armor and the chainmail, but when your character Lily puts the faceplate down, you're not in that armor. That's Gordon's wife, Elizabeth, in there when she's doing some of the riding and stuff like that, right?
Some of it's her and some of it's me.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, were you like, are you disappointed you get to play it all the time, or you're like, go Elizabeth, go ride and go swing that sword?
You know, um, I was disappointed I didn't get to do all of it, but I think that's because I understood a lot of it came down to time constraints. And when you're filming, I had been on another project right before we started filming this movie, and my schedule was too packed for me to be able to spend um, extended amounts of time like doing all that training. And it really is sharing the work or sharing the load of that is sort of necessary because it you just can't do 14 hours of fighting in full medieval armor from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. every day for a week, unless you had very extensive training, and we just didn't have the time.
Yeah, if you
But
guys only had like a 16-day shoot or something like that, right?
yeah, yeah, breakneck speed, and so that was, yeah, it was a bummer. I would have loved to have done it all myself, but a lot of it was all myself, and that those parts were really cool. And honestly, after putting on the helmet, uh, it's awful to act in the helmet. Let me just tell you that it is, because you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, and you're like, I don't know where my body is in space, um, and I don't envy that.
I was like, like historically speaking, not you're like, how do these knights fight like this? But they were also like historically like very clumsy people that like fell off their horse and got hit in the head all the time with a bunch of
I understand why.
stuff.
I mean, I'm not especially coordinated to begin with, and I was like, I don't know up from down in this thing. Like, how this is the most impractical way to fight. Yeah. It's like,
Stephanie Estes plays your mother Sylvia in this movie, and like
mhm.
Wild Eyed and Wicked, it doesn't like ease you in. Like the first like 5 minutes of the movie really drops you into like something that's terrifying, and like her character was scary just with like her faces and stuff like that. What was it like working with her? Were you ever scared of her on set at all?
No, she's incredible. I mean, I was incredibly impressed, and she is scary. And like when she gets in your face, and she's in the blood and the everything. I mean, I'm not sure how much I can give away here, but the she is lovely. I loved working with her. She's just funny and smart and talented, and I felt sad. I loved the moments where you see little flashbacks of like, look, look how nice things were. Because I'm like, that's Stephanie. She's she's such a great person. Uh, and then her incredible talent, where she can flip that switch and she can flip so fast, just drop right into it. And I was very impressed.
Speaking on spoilers, when we were doing our interview last week, Michael spoiled a bunch of stuff. I was like, just wanted you guys to know he said that. I didn't say that. So, but I mean, I know Michael from Sense8, and he was a character called Bug. And if you've never seen the show, you should definitely watch it. It's incredible. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but he's a totally different character in this story, and I wasn't used to that. I'm used to him from the comedy sphere. So what was he like to work with on and offset?
He's great. He's funny. He's quirky. I mean, as one would expect, I think, from from his performance and everything. I loved that he has like such a distinct oddness in the sweetest way, in the best way, where you're like, I loved that he brought that to the character because there are a lot of ways you can take Lily's dad's character, and he's, he's just fumbling through, kind of. That's the impression you get. And Michael always brought like new things to the table. He always brought something different than I expected him to, and that's such a gift as an actor because you get to play.
It sounds like
Um,
your experiences on this film are very positive. So if they wanted to come back and do something else with you, would you immediately be in, or
oh yeah, yeah.
gotcha.
I would I would jump at the chance.
I usually do a quick segment called I Can't Have You Here and Not Ask, just talking about past, current, and future projects. So I know right now you're on The Irrational on NBC with one of my favorite actors, Jesse L. Martin. I was a huge fan of Rent growing up, and the fact that he
Yes.
he can sing like that is I never knew it was him. I only listened to the soundtrack, and then when I finally saw it, I was like, oh, it's Detective Green from Law and Order is doing this.
Yeah.
What does he sing on set with you guys? And just what's Jesse like in general? What's that experience like?
He oh my gosh, he does sometimes sing on set, but not, just sort of in like a little hum ho way, which is hilarious because he's such a powerhouse and he's a, Broadway actor. Um, but yeah, he does kind of sing a little on set.
See, now I'm jogging your memory now.
Yeah, thank you. He's he's great to work with. He's so warm and kind and just approachable and sweet, and really, um, I'm very lucky.
I know
Yeah.
back in 2018, you had the chance to be in Steve McQueen's Widows alongside, Colin Farrell and, Liam, and that whole cast for
Yeah.
you. I mean, that's a star-studded cast. Steve McQueen is a great director. Were you just like, you ever find yourself just like in awe, like watching these people like act? You're like, oh, I'm in this movie. I have to actually like, pretend that I know what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we shot that back in 2017,
Yeah,
I want to say.
17.
Um, and yeah, I was like pretty green, and I was very green uh, in comparison to the rest of the cast. So yeah, I was trying not to be intimidated, but I was, and it was such a it was such a wonderful experience and such a great lesson for me, um, how generous and welcoming and kind every A-lister on that set was to me. Because in my experience, the worst personalities and, kind of the biggest jerks are not the most successful. They're the people who still have that attitude, like, I'm trying to claw my way to the top and I've got to push you down to get myself higher. And it's not true. It's not how it works. And it was great to see that some of the biggest people in the industry are actually just very lovely and welcoming, and that's that's how you do it. And I was like, that's a pro.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
Molly, I appreciate you sitting down with me today. We've got a wrap, but I can't wait for everybody to see Wild Eyed and Wicked when it comes out next week on the
Thank
11th
you.
on VOD, and they can see your performance as Lily Pierce. I hope to talk to you again, and we can do this sometime.
I would love it. Yeah. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks, Molly.